What's up everybody? Hope y'all are doing well. In today's video, I'm going to be pairing the Harmony melee weapon with Chroma Prime. I'm going to be focusing on melee influence on the Harmony, and I'll also be using Chroma's Electric Elemental Ward with this build. I recently got inspired to make an Electric Elemental Ward build because I used to use it all the time. I didn't really know what the ability properly did back in the day, but I knew for a fact that you could still do damage with the electricity aura you get from Electric Elemental Ward. And fast forward to today, I wanted to try that same concept again, but with the Harmony melee weapon, because I actually haven't made a proper Harmony build till now. And if we take a look real quick, you'll notice that I have melee influence on the Harmony, and this is the mod setup I'm rocking. I'd like to go ahead and discuss this a little bit before we get into Chroma. Melee influence is obviously really good for spreading that electricity status effect, and as you can see right here, I got 100% status chance with a 40.9% chance to apply an electricity status. However, I do have Weeping Wounds, which is going to increase my status chance per combo multiplier, which means whenever I get to the max combo counter, which is 12 times, my status chance is going to increase all the way up to 258% or 259%, something like that. I'm pretty sure that's how it works based on the formula for Weeping Wounds. If I'm wrong, you can feel free to correct me down in the comments. But long story short, having Weeping Wounds and Blood Rush on means the more I build up the combo counter and the more I keep the combo counter at 12 times, the more crit chance and the more status chance I'll have thanks to these two mods. And since I'm going to be having over 200% status, applying electricity with the Harmony is going to be really easy. But on top of all that, we still have what makes the Harmony so special, its unique trait, Harmonic Resonance. As you can see right here, heavy attacks condense all status effects that deal damage over time into a single instance. Heavy attack kills activate Harmonic Resonance, a buff that increases status duration by 30% for all allies. So for the first part of Harmonic Resonance, we got heavy attacks condensing all status effects into a single damage instance, which means when you're facing an enemy that has electricity or heat status on them or anything that literally has a DOT, hitting that enemy with a heavy attack from Harmony will condense all of those status effects into one damage instance, which is pretty cool. And the moment you get a kill with a heavy attack with this weapon, you just get extra status duration, which is exactly why I have this specific build right here. I also threw on a Tennokai mod, and I went with Conditions Perfection because it increases status chance by 100% on Tennokai attacks. I think that's pretty solid for a status build. And even without this being the most optimized build, I was still able to hit over 100 million with a heavy attack, which is pretty solid. You'll notice my combo duration is actually 20 seconds. That is thanks to primary and secondary dexterity that I have on my primary and secondary weapon, of course. And then you'll also notice that I got 9.9 times crit damage. That is thanks to the purple Archon shards I have on Chroma that all give me extra melee crit damage, and that boost is actually doubled thanks to my energy being over 500. Now you could argue for something like the Harmony, going with something like ability strength Archon shards, the red ones, may be better because you can actually, just make your ability stronger this way. To each their own. At the end of the day, I'm just going with what works for me, and this is actually the specific config I'm using. I showcased config A earlier, and the only literal difference is the helmet ability. Even though this is a status build, having extra crit chance through Wrathful Advance is always nice, because thanks to that extra crit chance, I'm just going to be doing more damage with my crits overall with Harmony, while still applying a crazy amount of status effects. Even though it does only last 7 seconds, it doesn't take long to look somewhere else where, no enemies are, and then just activate the ability. I personally don't mind the constant reactivation of abilities, especially if they're helping out my damage, and overall, I just think this is a pretty decent setup. I would like to talk about Electric Elemental Ward real quick. Like I said earlier, I haven't used Electricity Elemental Ward in a very long time, but using this specific version of the ability with Harmony reminded me of how much potential Electricity Elemental Ward actually has. Because for those of you who don't know, not only does Electric Elemental Ward increase your base shield capacity, as you can see after my mod setup, we get an extra 103% to our base shield stat whenever the ability is active. But on top of all that, this ability actually converts incoming damage into arc discharges. These arc discharges inflict electric damage to enemies and have a chance to apply an electric status effect. What makes these discharges really good is the fact that the final damage of an arc discharge is determined by the amount of shields and or health you lose from incoming damage. And the fact that arcs can strike the same target multiple times means you can do multiple instances of electric damage while also having a chance to apply multiple electric procs. And the main point of using Electric Elemental Ward with the Harmony is to actually use the arc discharges to proc status effects. Because of the fact that the arcs can strike the same target multiple times, that means I have multiple chances to apply the electricity status to the enemies I'm facing. After my mod setup, my damage multiplier from these arc discharges is 34.6 and the status chance is 86%. However, I can actually increase this number thanks to the augmented arcane that gives me extra ability strength, which means if I hit an enemy with the arc discharges, I can potentially have a 100% chance to apply an electric status effect while I already have the crazy amount of status chance with the Harmony. You could argue that this is definitely not the most optimal optimized way to play with the Harmony or Electric Elemental Ward, and you definitely wouldn't be wrong. As a matter of fact, from my research, I found out that there's actually a Hildryn build you can do with that. You subsume Elemental Ward on the Hildryn, use the electric version, and because of her insane shield capacity, you can actually make the discharges work. But once again, it's not about killing with the arc discharges, it's about killing them with the Harmony. And if I can have Electric Elemental Ward apply some electric status along the way, well, that's just going to help me in the long run. Because again, Harmony's unique trait actually condenses all status effects into one damage instance. So the more status effects I can apply to my enemies, the better the Harmony will perform overall. I wanted to explain that real quick because I'm well aware of how odd this combo is, and at the end of the day, let's just keep it 1,000. Electric Elemental Ward is decent, but it's only really good for very specific builds regarding the actual arc discharge. But like I said at the beginning of the video, I haven't used it in a very long time, and I wanted to try it with a status build to see if I can make it work. And for me, I'm quite satisfied with the results that it provides because I'm mainly focused on the Harmony anyway. However, seeing those discharges apply the electric status and doing chip electricity damage is always nice. And while this combo right here may not be the strongest in the game, it was still a really fun combo to try out in Steel Path. With this build, I did end up hitting over 100 million, and I'm not even trying to go for crazy high damage with a build like this, so seeing that is super nice. Just goes to show you that you don't need the most optimized build to still get shit done in this game. And at the end of the day, that's the whole point in this build. You don't need to have everything I do down to the exact wire. Just having Chroma Prime with the Harmony is enough. Obviously, melee influence is a big part of that, but to each their own at the end of the day. This is just how I like to rock this setup. That's gonna be it for this video. Like I said earlier, feel free to let me know what you guys think of this build, and if there's anything that you would change, you would add, or just anything you want to comment on, feel free to let me know down below. And again, drop a like and sub to the channel if you did enjoy. I do appreciate all the support, and it seriously does help me out a lot. That's gonna be it for me. Keep your head up, stay positive, and with all that being said, thanks for watching.